Let's see how this one is going to play out then. Prototype machinery and a variety of different cars over the course of this legendary circuit in the heart of Belgium. Kai de Bruyne in the Toyota GT1 on pole position. He's got Samuel Cardinal in the Sauber Mercedes C9 alongside. Then you've got Jose Serrano in the 2010 Peugeot 908. Kylian Drumont in the Nissan R92. That's going to be a tricky machinery on the limits, with Paul Ura in 5th place in the Jag XJR9. Then the Mazda 787B that we saw a few moments ago. Takuma Miyazono behind the wheel of that one. The Toyota GR10 Hybrid from 2021 is alongside Valerio Gallo's Porsche 962 from the 80s. Then you've got Takuma Sasaki in the Porsche 919. Guy Barbara in the Mazda LM55 Vision Gran Turismo. In a Stroza in the Audi R18 from 2016. And Adriano Carrazza in the Hyundai N Vision Gran Turismo machine. Now, Jimmy, as we said, variety of different machinery for this one. There's been a fair bit of balance of performance action going on as well. Yeah,
really tricky, because a lot of these cars, of course, would never race each other in periods. To get them to race well together here is one of the tasks of our BOP management here. But something to mention, of course, I actually had a go in some of these cars earlier on in that 787B. Very capable car around here, very quick in the corners. But that GT1 Toyota we've seen from practice, incredibly fast down the straights, but lacking in the corners. So it's going to be an interesting one, this. I don't really know how to call it right now.
No, absolutely not. And just to remind you of the points as well, it's double points on offer for the first and the second race compared to what we've had so far in the GT World Series. So 6 points was on offer for the wins in the first 3 events. Now it's 12 points on offer. That then gets doubled again for the grand final here tonight. So there's a lot to play for and a big opportunity for an upset in terms of the standings, with Jose Serrano, of course, still leading. Let's get the race underway then. The Nations Cup Race 1 here in Fukuoka is go, with Kai de Bruyne leading down towards La Source, with Samuel Cardinal followed by Jose Serrano. Are we going to see any dive bombs on the inside there? Looks like Miyazono was trying to lunge through in the Mazda 787B. He's now into 5th place as we come out on the run out of La Source. Kai de Bruyne's gone from pole position down to 3rd, with Jose Serrano now occupying the front of this race. Up through the rise of Eau Rouge and Raidillon we are for the first time into the Kemmel Straight, and Miyazono's all out of shape, nearly into the back of Kai de Bruyne. That cost him time, cost him a place also to Samuel Cardinal. So we're only about 3 or 4 corners old in this race, and now we've got a change of lead because we're 3 abreast down the start finish straight. Serrano on the inside, Drumont in the middle, Kai de Bruyne on the outside. Who's last of the late breakers? Serrano it is that manages to retain the lead. Drumont into 2nd, and Miyazono somehow, after all of that drama from La Source and in towards Eau Rouge, manages to get himself into 3rd.
Oh, de Bruyne's had a mistake somewhere. It's down to P8 from pole position. So a familiar story there from Kai de Bruyne as Takuma Miyazono goes side by side with Paul Ura. Sasaki moving up as well in the Porsche 919. So a hectic start there, and profiting from all of that is Jose Serrano. Great start from the Spaniard, ideal for him as we're in the midfield there. Paul Ura battling against Sasaki, and you're seeing all the differences of these cars here. And getting a Stroza up to P5. Those hybrids really fast off the start here, but being held up slightly by this Jaguar. Look at that cork in the bottle effect. They're all together. You can barely throw a towel over them.
Yeah, you can see the newer prototype cars are just so much quicker in this midsection, the technical part of the circuit. When you get onto the long straights, that's when the older machinery will prove to be beneficial. But look at the gap the top 2 have got already at this stage. Jose Serrano, Kylian Drumont already with 2.3 seconds in their pockets over Paul Ura, and you've got cars there that are separated by about 18 years in terms of total time. The 2010 Peugeot 908 being chased by the 1992 Nissan as we come down in towards the bus stop chicane. Drumont having a look, Serrano going for a slightly defensive line into there, manages to get it all up as we see Ura going very deep down in towards the chicane, just about manages to hold position, but Miyazono and Sasaki ready to pounce behind as we start lap 2.
Now, what a sight so far in this race. Look at that gap between 2nd and 3rd. Paul Ura got a lot to do to try and bring that back from now. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack goes through La Source. Serrano leading down the hill with a gap now, 0.8 of a second to Drumont, who we now ride on board with in this awesome Nissan Group C car. What a camera angle this is. You think about the power this thing has driving through the rear wheels. It's very tricky to get through the midfield. And now look at that, the legs on this thing, holding it in 4th gear, 305 Ks, nearly 310 Ks. Look at the speed difference, almost run into the back of Jose Serrano there, but you're seeing the strength of that thing. So if Drumont can hold on through this midsection, he can attack then in the first and last, which are much more based around top speed. Here's Miyazono. He's trying to defend here from Paul Ura at 787B, running well so far, but there's now a big gap between the leaders and this second pack.
Gallo and De Bruyne under investigation for a collision. Gallo's down in 10th place, De Bruyne's in 7th position, so De Bruyne clearly in the wars on the opening lap there of that race, and it's cost him a fair bit, and might be set to cost him a little bit more as well. Down in towards Pouhon we go. Let's have another look if we can pick out what happened between Gallo and De Bruyne. So Gallo's there in 10th place. Where's De Bruyne going to unfur in all of this? So Gallo got into the side of De Bruyne, and that sent Guy Barbara into the pit wall on the exit of the first corner as well. That's why the Australian driver is now down into 11th place.
Man, Guy Barbara can't catch a break, can he? It seems every time he comes to one of these, something happens, he's off the back of the field. But same for Cardinal as well, strong qualifying, now P10. So goes to show that car choice and that first corner shuffle all about it. Here comes Paul Uric using the V12, that mighty Jaguar, up into P3, and Mizano not really defending there as the two hybrid cars, the Audi and the Porsche, follow on through behind. Well, what an interesting combination. Two Group C cars, two hybrid cars, they both drive up the inside. Their camera cuts away at the worst time possible. Inestrosa, I think, has got by in the Porsche up to P4. Sasaki there still, though, in up to P5, sorry, in the R18.
Inestrosa up 7 places from where he started on the grid. He was 11th, just to remind you as well. So the Chilean really making some good ground in the opening stage of this race. Very impressive. It's only an 8-lapper, which doesn't sound that long, but of course it's a very long lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, about 7 kilometres in total, as Le Boutelet has come into the pit lane then here. So clearly some problems for the Frenchman, because we weren't expecting any pit stops in this race. Not quite sure what has happened to him, but that's not a good way for him to start proceedings for the World Finals. Meanwhile, Inestrosa in the slipstream of Ura, looking to the inside down at Lake Coombe. Can he make it stick? Side by side they go. Ura's got the inside line. He's going to switch to the outside line, and then Inestrosa does go through in the Audi R18 and into 3rd place. That's opened the cork in the bottle. Look at it. The two followers of Miyazono and Sasaki are ready to pounce there as well.
Yeah, what a great little scrap this is there. Again, two Group C cars taking on cars far younger than them, and still just about managing to hold on, as Inestrosa in 3rd place. Now, I think he's got to try and look forward, try and chase down Drummond and Serrano. They've had an easy time of things so far. Update on the Boutelet there. I think that's just a rage quit, Tom. 2 in 2 days from him, man. It's poor showing. Don't like to see that.
Disappointing there for Thomas Le Boutelet then. Either way, to have ended his race early. We go through in towards the chicane then, in the middle part of it, and look at the gap there that Inestrosa has got to make up. 3.3 seconds, a tall order. What he'll have to hope for is Drummond and Serrano to start battling with one another. We have seen a few exchanges of position, but nothing that's going to drop them back to the rest of the field. Out of Paul Freire we go, and in towards Blanchimont as we head towards the bus stop, and you can hear the howl of that Mazda 787B in the distance as we ride on board with Sasaki in the Porsche 919 into the braking zone. And look at the straight line speed. Inestrosa's got the inside line here with Paul Ura trying to attack for position, but into the braking zone. That's a car that Inestrosa is piloting of the Toyota is pretty handy, and no such threat is able to be made by Paul Ura.
So in the background, that GT1 popping into frame, and Kai de Bruin. Man, what an awful start from Kai de Bruin. We were sort of saying earlier with Kai, he's really fast over a single lap, but just can't always seem to get it together in the race, and the same, I think, seemingly happened there as well. But we go on board with Miyazono, again, using that draft, and they're going to be a bit quicker than this Audi in a straight line. It's slow down the straights, this Audi. Look at it, really slow. Here comes the Jaguar, here comes the Mazda. Through they go, past Inestrosa in the 787B with Miyazono. Awesome pictures here as you make it through Lecom. And what an awesome little back and forth is these hybrids. They charge up the hybrid during the braking zone, so they'll get a burst initially out of the corner, then they're slow down into the straight, whereas these 787Bs, what's hybrid, they say? Let's just burn more dinosaurs. That's how they do it.
Yeah, certified 90s moment there.
Yeah.
Super fast down the straight with those two cars. Inestrosa, we ride on board with him. My apologies. I said he was in a Toyota a few minutes ago. Of course, he's in an Audi R18. I need to get my eyes tested. Coming down in towards Pouhon we go as we ride on board with the Chilean driver. Interesting fact for you, by the way. Half of this grid, 50%, they're all former champions in one way or another. Some in the Nations Cup, some in the Manufacturers Cup. But a very, very well-esteemed grid in this, and that is why we're seeing such close competition on track. Through this chicane we go, as Miyazono is now going to be the driver that is under threat here from Inestrosa.
Of course, both Serrano and Inestrosa, both part of the winning combination for the Manufacturers' Cup yesterday. So they're on a bit of a high at the moment with that momentum. We join this battle yet again. Definitely the most interesting part of this race. This little scrap for third. As at the front, you see that Euro is just trying to get away in the Jaguar, but they can't do it. As soon as they break down here again into the bus stop, it's a big recharge zone for these hybrids. They're going to have a huge burst of speed coming out of these corners here and have a chance of getting back on through past the Group C cars.
Not a great race so far for Kai de Bruyne, as we know from pole position. He's down into 7th place. Also for Sam Cardinal as well. We've hardly mentioned the Canadian. He's into 10th position at the moment, considering where he started on the grid. He was on the front row. So the two drivers who were very quick in qualifying earlier on this afternoon, it's not translated into a strong race result for them here so far. Still a few laps left to go, though, as we come over the rise of Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Innestrosa all over the wheel tracks of Takuma Miyazono here. So Audi R18 versus Mazda 787B. Versus Jaguar XJR9 as well. Down the straight we go. Euro goes for a slightly defensive line, just moves over to the right-hand side, back into the traditional racing line for the braking zone. Miyazono not able to launch an attack into Lake Oum.
Yeah, I was also having a little look at the gap for the lead there. Drummond getting much closer down that first sector. Again, that Nissan that he's piloting, trying to follow Jose Serrano much quicker down the straight. Paul Euro setting the fastest lap of the race in that Jaguar, so there's still pace there for sure. But the lap times, super similar there, Tom. The top three drivers have all done a time within 300 of each other. Yeah,
exactly. So fastest lap, but it doesn't count for much because, of course, the gap's going to stay exactly the same. So Euro, despite the fact that he's pushing on like he's left the gas on, as Miyazono's got a 1 second penalty for colliding with another car. Now, that's going to be very detrimental to him because you've got Innestrosa, you've got Sasaki, all within a very close distance. So it's going to drop him down a minimum of 2 places here, and it might bring it back of that group as well. Let's look at what happened then for Takuma Miyazono. So we're away for this one. Then coming down in towards the first corner, side by side, and Miyazono just biffed it into the back of Kylian Drummond. That is what sent the Toyota wide at the start of this race and cost Sam Cardinal positions.
No, that was Kai de Bruyne.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, in there. But yeah, so I wondered how we got over there. I remember seeing that. I think, how did you get there? But that apparently is how that happened. So Paul Euro then. His job's going to become slightly easier now that Miyazono's off the back of that little pack here. Let's see if that 787B now can get back in touch with his hybrids now that the draft. So here's a battle for the lead. Jose Serrano leading still in that Peugeot. Behind him, though, Kylian Drummond in that Group C car. Now, this is where that Nissan has the legs. Watch that gap as we come over Eau Rouge and Raidillon and up towards Lake Oum. The live point standings on your screen there. Unsurprisingly, Jose Serrano would increase his lead if the race were to finish as it is now. But still 2 and a bit laps left as we're on board with Drummond. Look at this in the tow again, over 300 kph, almost driving up to the back like he's standing still there. He's just trying to show his nose, but from that far back, that's a different postcode. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
No, exactly. If he was a half a second closer or so, you'd know he would be very much within striking distance going in towards that chicane. But as you say, just a bit too far away at this point. So lap 6 out of 8 we're on. Pretty steady at the front end of this race. Serrano and Drummond, that gap sort of ebbing and flowing, but not really coming down to a point where Drummond is able to launch a move. And you can see coming down through this technical second part of the circuit here, that's where the newer car, the car that's Jose Serrano, the 918 that he's piloting, is going to be at an advantage relative to the Nissan that Kylian Drummond is driving.
That's a good middle sector though by Drummond. This is where Serrano's been sort of gapping him over the last couple of laps. Let's see what it's like through the chicane here and through the Stavlos, because that's where Serrano needs to build the gap because he's vulnerable on the straight. So here we are out of the right-hander. You see the drive of the Peugeot out of there. Great acceleration. But now he's got to try and contend with 700 horsepower of Nissan Group C goodness. So up towards the bus stop here. Is this corner flat for Drummond? It must be in this thing at this speed.
Let's have a listen.
Oh, easy. But look at this now. Really close to Serrano. Will he go for moving to the bus stop? No, but you have to think, Tom, he's thinking about something maybe at the end of into Lake Oum.
Feels like a bit of a dress rehearsal, doesn't it? Serrano was slightly deep in the middle part there of the bus stop chicane, but due to the nature of that corner, you can sort of gather up that mistake, and it doesn't really cost him too much time. Subsequently, he has a massive boost coming out of the final turn, going down in towards the first corner. run down in towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon. It's just, again, ebbing and flowing. He's a little bit closer, a couple of tenths of a second to the better. Last time around, in terms of the lap times, literally a tenth of a second separating Jose Serrano and Kilian Drumont. Paul Ura's challenge looks to have come to a bit of a halt, unfortunately. He was in the 203s last time, so whether that's a mistake or whether that car is just chewing through its tyres a bit more remains to be seen. But either way, Ura not quite close enough. Someone who is closing, though, is Kilian Drumont. He pulls alongside Jose Serrano as we come in towards the braking zone. That's as close as it's been for now for Kilian Drumont. That's his best opportunity yet to challenge for the race lead. Maybe that is the dress rehearsal that we are seeing from the Frenchman as we get ready to go into the final lap and a half of this race.
And you couldn't have cars, could you? A Peugeot diesel versus a Group C Nissan. Meanwhile, here is Sasaki in the 919 Evo going almost into the back of Inestrosa. Dive up the inside there. Very opportunistic. I don't think he meant to go for that, to be honest, but he saw himself going up the inside, and that was that. So there is Sasaki in the 919.
It's a rare sight, that, actually, seeing two cars from pretty much the same era actually fighting with one another in this race. Fantastic job that Sasaki has done to get himself into fourth position. Third place would be even better, though. More points on offer. Just another reminder for you, 12 points is the maximum for the race lead, all the way down to 1 point, of course, and double the points for the grand final. Nose to tail we are, though, still from third all the way down to sixth place at the moment, with Miyazono bookending this one in the Mazda 787B.
So I'm keeping one eye on the gap between Serrano and Drumont here, because that's going to be super important coming on to the last lap. Keep an eye, though, also on this fight. Ura heading this train. Miyazono has managed to climb his way onto the back of the train after that penalty, so he's not out of it yet. We've got 4 places up for grabs in this last lap of the bit. In goes to the inside. Sasaki to defend from Inestrosa. He's going to try a long way around. Is he going to make it stick? He's still just about got a nose there. Inestrosa making that work. Now it's a drag race down the source. Sasaki's going to win that one. And on to the final lap of the race. Is Drumont close enough to Serrano for a move? Oh, on the inside goes Sasaki.
Can he make it stick into La Source? He's got the move, he's got the place, he's got track position, he's through and into third position, but will that cost him drive on the exit? Will leave him vulnerable as we come down the hill and head in towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon for the final time. So Sasaki through into the podium places for the first time in this race, but now Paul Ura is coming under threat here from Angel Inestrosa, and now he's attacking Takuma Sasaki. Inestrosa as well. We're nearly 3 abreast. We are 3 abreast. Miyazono's in the middle and coming through in the 787B, gets 2 places in the space of 1 straight as we head in towards Lake Coon for the final time. Ura's in third, Miyazono's up through and into second. Inestrosa now, the driver who's gone from attacking to defending to losing places, as Sasaki's on his inside through the right-hander, and now Inestrosa is down to 6th.
And look who's back in the mirror. Takuma Miyazono in that orange and green liveried Mazda 787B, climbing his way back up the positions after that penalty earlier on. And now Paul Ura knows he's going to have a challenge on his hands to keep that third place to the end of the lap. And then Miyazono crowding Sasaki there to the edge of a circuit. A bit late that move, but you're seeing the difference in acceleration here. That 787B cannot contend with the hybrid power of the 919 Evo and the Audi, but only half a lap to go. Maybe they keep it. Look how close Drumont is now.
Yeah, these drivers know that these points are absolutely crucial in the early stage of the weekend here for the championship. So Drumont wants to try and take points out of Serrano. Ura needs to get third place to try and hold on to as much of a lead as he possibly can at the top of the table. On board we ride there with Kilian Drumont. One more opportunity left to challenge for the race lead, and he's just too far away from Jose Serrano. We're coming towards the braking zone at this point, and I don't think, unless he goes for a Dan-dare move on the brakes, Drumont looking to the inside. The door gets shut, though, by Jose Serrano, who blocks the line and holds firm as we come into the final corner. Jose Serrano wins race 1 of the Nations Cup here at Spa-Francorchamps from Kilian Drumont, and Miyazono is through on Paul Ura for third place in a drag to the line. The 787B gets a podium here in Belgium ahead of Ura, Sasaki and Angel Inestrosa. A fantastic race there with all different types of machinery, and that is a brilliant way to start off proceedings here in the Nations Cup for the World Finals.
I thought for a second Drumont was going to get that done. That was a